Junior Motorsports is officially making its first Cup Series start at the Daytona 500. We'll find out the sponsor, the number, and the driver. And silly season 2025, at least on the Cup Series side, is over as all 36 charters officially have at least a main driver. So let's talk about it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, they made the announcement yesterday that they had an announcement to make today, and Junior Motorsports, that being Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his sister Kelly, made the announcement today that they will be attempting the Daytona 500 with sponsor Traveler Whiskey. Traveler Whiskey, of course, a product of Buffalo Trace. It is their number 40 blend. That'll be important here in just a minute. And of course, it is sort of a project of Chris Stapleton. Chris Stapleton, a very famous country music singer. And you have seen Traveler Whiskey at the racetracks, most recently doing lots of things with NASCAR. So this is at least an avenue that they see their product being sold down, or at least an interest of Chris Stapleton. So good to see a company that is actually going to support NASCAR at the track have a car officially on the track. Chris Stapleton, of course, mostly known as a country singer and probably most well known for his 2015 cover of Tennessee Whiskey, which is by far got to be his most popular song. However, Stapleton has co-written 6 #1 singles for other artists on hot country songs. Kenny Chesney's 5-week #1, Never Wanted Anything More. Josh Turner's Your Man. George Strait's Love's Gonna Make It All Right. Luke Bryan's Drink a Beer. And he's also been credited on albums for artists including Adele, Kelly Clarkson, Brad Paisley, Dierks Bentley, Taylor Swift, and has co-written with Vince Gill, Peter Frampton, Sheryl Crow, and Ed Sheeran, among others. That, of course, from Wikipedia. And if you didn't know who Chris Stapleton is, maybe you've heard one of those songs. And the Traveler theme, of course, why he named the whiskey that, his first solo album was called The Traveler. So there you go, Traveler Whiskey. That's where all of that came from. Now let's get on to the car itself. And of course, you see the car there. The car is numbered 40, and if you look on the hood right there, you can see that's because it is blend number 40 from the Buffalo Trace factory. So now let's get into who's actually going to prepare the car, and the car is going to be prepared by Hendrick Motorsports, and a lot of people are immediately going to be like, well, Rick Hendrick owns a piece of Junior Motorsports, so therefore they shouldn't be allowed to run that car. However, if you look at the ownership group that is attached with Joe Gibbs Racing, which is Arctos, and you look at the ownership group which is attached to Fenway Entertainment Group, or whatever it's called now, the F in RFK, the Fenway Group, it is Arctos. And Arctos they ran the whole season last year, with Roush Fenway Keselowski, and of course with Joe Gibbs Racing as a minority ownership stake, which is the same thing that Hendrick has in the Junior Motorsports organization. So if you look at it from that angle, there was a whole season last year where it's already happened, so people getting up in arms about it now, kind of silly. But if that flew under your radar from last season, let me just throw this out here for you. Even if NASCAR decided that, hey, Rick Hendrick owns a piece of this, he must divest. Actually, he doesn't have to divest. Because legally, here is how you would get around this. Joe Gibbs Racing has already done it with Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs owning Ty Gibbs Racing now. Here's all Junior Motorsports would have to do. It is now called the Junior Motorsports Cup Team, and you just file for a new LLC, and in North Carolina, that costs you about $238. So for $238, you sidestep that. It's all owned by Junior and Kelly, and, you've sidestepped it legally, because as a legal entity, if something were to happen, you could only sue that group over there. So there you go. That is the easy sidestep for $238. So there you go. Even if NASCAR enforced the rule for about $230-some, it's been a long time since I filed for mine, but for around that amount of money, you could sidestep this legally. So even if NASCAR enforced it, they would easily just step around it and it would still be ran the exact same way. Therefore, the rule itself, in this particular case, not really enforceable. Now that we've got that massive controversy out of the way, let's move on to the driver of the car and the crew chief. The driver, of course, is going to be one Justin Allgaier, and I know a lot of people wanted Martin Truex Jr. to be the driver here. He already had his deal worked out with Toyota well in advance. That'll be announced at some point. It's either going to be probably Ty Gibbs Racing, or more likely Tricon Garage will be who's fielding that car for him. And really, it's going to be Joe Gibbs Racing. They're just going to slap the Tricon badge on it, much like the Junior Motorsports thing that just happened. So this this arbitrary who owns what. Once again, it's still run the same way. And like I said, as long as there's a rule, teams are going to find ways to step around those rules. So like I said, the rule itself is just kind of unenforceable, honestly. And even though a lot of people wanted Martin Truex Jr. to drive the car, Justin Allgaier driving the car, in a lot of ways, is way more fitting, because if you look at his resume here, 2008 ARCA champion, and then from 2009 to 2010, he ran with Penske, where we saw the famous commercial from ESPN where everybody started calling him Little Gator. I don't know if he was called Little Gator before that, or if that was just something they did for the commercial, but he's been Little Gator to the fans ever since then. Then fast forward to 2014, 2015, where he was the H. Scott Group, where he ran in the Cup Series in that number 51 car. Not the greatest equipment, but he does have two, at least, full seasons in the Cup Series. Then after that, it was all Junior Motorsports. So this going on his 10th year now with Junior Motorsports. He's had a ton of wins with them, a ton of success for them. He has been a staple over there for that organization with his sponsorship, and Brandt always being there to help build Junior Motorsports, and of course won the championship last season after coming oh so close all of these previous seasons. When you look at it through that vein, so when you look at it from that perspective, he really is the perfect driver to field the first ever Junior Motorsports entry in the Cup Series. And it's just really lining up, so hopefully he can qualify. That's the big thing now. He isn't guaranteed a position like Helio Castroneves is, so he is going to have to qualify on speed. But with Hendrick always trimming out their cars, you would imagine he doesn't have to be first or anything like that. He just has to out-qualify all the other cars that are going to be entered in the Daytona 500, not named Helio Castroneves. So as long as he can do that, he can get in on time, or he can race his way in. I think he's got a good chance. He's been pretty good in all of his Cup starts where he's been in good equipment, and this, of course, will be some of the best equipment he's ever been in, sans last year in the 5 car, and definitely his best ever Daytona 500 equipment, I would say. And the crew chief will be Greg Ives. Greg Ives, of course, formerly with Alex Bowman in the Cup Series. He did some good things with Alex Bowman, got a lot of wins over there. So I think you got a pretty good crew chief in the mix to do this deal as well. So everything's lining up. Everything about it is really cool. The car looks really cool. The paint scheme's good. Good sponsor because they care about NASCAR. Awesome that Chris Stapleton is involved, so that just adds another layer of awesome to it. Then it's anything with the Earnhardt family. That's always a good deal. And personally, I like Justin Allgaier because he's never given up on his dream. He keeps doing what he wants to do, so I like him as a driver. I like his story. So everything about this is kind of a cool deal in my opinion. And now on to the final charter in the Cup Series. Finally has a driver, and that is the 51 of Rick Ware Racing. They announced today that Cody Ware will be the driver. That officially ends any rumors of Corey LaJoie going over there and being in that ride. So we'll have to keep an eye on what Corey LaJoie is going to do, whether he can land an Xfinity ride, whether he can land a truck ride or anything like that. But as far as 2025 silly season for the NASCAR Cup Series, it is officially over. Rest in peace. You've been a good one, silly season 2025. Now we're on to silly season for the Cup Series, at least 2025. Silly season 2025 for Xfinity and trucks. There are still some seats open over there, so it's still open over there. But yeah, at least the Cup Series is done, so 2026 will be the silly season stuff from here on out, because the 2025 season is finally set. All 36 charters have at least an official driver. All right. That is all I've got for you on this one. If you made it this far, I would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll just keep making these things. Got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I get to as many of them as I can. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.